The function of the current healthcare system is not to provide quality care to all in a cost-effective way. The function of the current system is to make billions of dollars in profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies.
Last night's CNN Town Hall Bonanza kicked off the Democratic primaries with back-to-back town halls from all of our favorites like Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg. Right off the bat, I'll say that Bernie got a bunch of directly hostile questions that often derailed the conversation. Questions like, why are you trying to be like Stalin by bringing healthcare to the United States? Or, you claim to be a socialist and yet you made $1 million, lol! Which are really silly, and Bernie did a decent job of pushing back on those attacks.
But I have and will continue in this campaign to fight for progressive taxation. In other words, whether it is Bernie Sanders or your family or anybody else in America, when we have so much income and wealth inequality, when the people on top are doing phenomenally well, yeah, if you are doing very, very well in our economy, you should be paying your fair share of taxes. We will raise those taxes for the upper income people. We will do away with the tax loopholes and the tax breaks that large private corporations currently receive.
Remember, kids, we want millionaires to be class traders. What was also shocking to me was the fact that a room full of Harvard kids on a CNN town hall were less vocally supportive of Bernie Sanders than the good people of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania on Fox News, which should tell you where the neoliberal mainstream media stands on anyone who dares to threaten the safety of the status quo. But let's get to the most important moment of the night, when one of those kids asked this incredibly loaded question.
You have said that you believe that people with felony records should be allowed to vote while in prison. Does this mean that you would support enfranchising people like the Boston Marathon bomber, a convicted terrorist and murderer? Do you think that those convicted of sexual assault should have the opportunity to vote for politicians who could have a direct impact on women's rights?
Who would ever want sexual abusers to have direct impact on women's rights or legislation, right? That'd be terrible. Now, Bernie, of course, did his usual routine and talked about enfranchising all Americans, especially young voters, and that prisoners happen to be a part of the American population. And then he gave this take.
If somebody commits a serious crime, sexual assault, murder, they're going to be punished. They may be in jail for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, their whole lives. That's what happens when you commit a serious crime. But I think the right to vote is inherent to our democracy. Yes, even for terrible people. Because once you start chipping away and you say, well, that guy committed a terrible crime, not going to let him vote. Or that person did that, not going to let that person vote. You're running down a slippery slope.
Now, I know everyone immediately thinks about the worst rapist murderers and how they'll be allowed to vote, but this is a ridiculous conversation to have in a nation where we have more than 2 million incarcerated people, especially people of color, in disproportionate rates. This is yet another way of disenfranchising those communities. You lock them up over frivolous offenses and then deny them future opportunities while also taking away their right to vote. Giving prisoners this right allows them to retain agency, which is an important first step in treating them in a more humane fashion, which will improve their chances of integrating back into society and lower our abysmal recidivism rates. Another important factor to consider is that voting powers will improve prison conditions, so the prisoners won't have to go on strike to have their humanity recognized, or to end prison slavery. This is especially funny because y'all love to talk about gulags and labor camps, and yet here in America, we still have prison labor, which another candidate that was doing a town hall that night loves. I'm talking about Kamala Harris, who loves slavery so much, she literally used it as an example of why California's overcrowded prisons shouldn't release non-violent second strike offenders, because they made for great gardeners. Something that she and Hillary Clinton also have in common, I guess. But these are probably some of the reasons why Norway once famously refused to send an American criminal to the US, stating that our prison conditions were inhumane. Prisoners count towards the population determining congressional districts. So if a congressperson's seat is determined in part based on the inmates in his or her district, then it's only fair that those inmates get the right to vote on that representation. Maybe at the very least we can give them 3/5 of that representation. I'm Hasan Piker. If this video educated you, please share it with your friends and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, for a longer conversation, please join me live at my Twitch at twitch.tv/Hasanabi. I'm live every day after 5 p.m. Pacific. And if you'd like to help TYT out, please go to tyt.com/join and join TYT membership. It's only $5 a month and it greatly helps us. And this has been The Breakdown. Never miss another breakdown video by ringing the bell below. You'll get notified whenever we publish something new. Also, don't forget to join TYT today. Download our TYT Plus app on your phone or head on over to tyt.com/join.
Perfect. 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 Perfect.